So since we're going to have a burlesque performer, we watched an episode of Maude in which they did a burlesque show.
They did a burlesque show.
And did you watch this episode, John?
I did watch this episode because you emailed it to me.
What'd you have to say about it?
Well, I thought, it was, of course, a chance for B. Arthur to show her Broadway chops. Tony Award winner as Best Featured Actress in a Musical for me. Yeah.
And do you find it? I read this somewhere, and I did find it odd that Carol is in the show. Carol is Maude's daughter from a previous marriage, and she's married to a new man, Walter, who is not Carol's father. But when they're doing their act on the show, Maude's husband, very old man, is often acting like Carol. His stepdaughter is, a sexy woman in these burlesque acts, which was a little I did creepy. Think about it. I'm like, it's a little odd. Yeah, a little creepy.
Yeah, and I don't know if this makes it creepier or if it forgives it, but Maude was kind of encouraging it.
She was.
Maybe Maude was getting ready to go. Yeah, because I think, after Maude had the abortion, then she started going through menopause and she didn't want Walter on her anymore. So maybe she was trying to push him to Carol. Oh, jeez.
Now I got to edit.
No, don't edit that out. That is gripping. That is comedy gold.
It's the Seti Bimco Show with your hosts, Tim and John. Tim has a rash and John's got no patience.
Yes, this is the Seti Bimco Show, the show where we talk about the weirdness or embarrassment of high school in real life and in the movies. And in this week, we're just moving on to a little after high school with our guest, Rex Halligan. We'll talk to in a minute.
Yes.
Fireman and burlesque actor. So do you have any thoughts this week? Because I have a lot of thoughts.
Go ahead. Think away. Think away, Tim.
My thoughts aren't so much thoughts, but it's what happened this week. Oh. Yes. My wife's friends came to town, and they have two, 13, 14-year-old boys, and we were taking them to do things in New York. No, they're fine. They're nice. They're nice, but we're taking them to do things. You're a braver man
than I am, just saying.
So we're doing stuff that we wouldn't usually do, and they wanted to go to this exhibit in New York, which is a spy exhibit, interactive spy exhibit. And we're like, what is this? The kids want to go to it. And I said something to Jean as we went in, and I thought I saw something about lasers. And I'm like, we're not going to be crawling under lasers to do stuff, because I'm not crawling on the floor under lasers to do things. What is this? And so we're going through.
Been on this floor.
And they tag you with a I know, tag you with a bracelet, so they follow you through the whole thing. They ask you questions and test you, and then there's an exhibit about famous spies. And I was like, "Is this a cheap?" That my test was, "Is this a cheapo exhibit?" Because we got to Alan Turing, and I was like, "Yeah, I know his story." Did they whitewash it? And they're like, "Nope, he got chemically castrated. He maybe killed himself. We don't know." And I'm like, "Okay, this is an exhibit. It's not whitewashing stuff." So then I was like, okay, this is okay exhibit. Had all the machines that they used in World War II. Had a lot of stuff, and they question you to see if what you'll be good at. And sure enough, near the end, we get to these rooms. And they're like, okay, this room's got laser beams, and you're going to have to hit the buttons on the walls that light up as fast as you can without touching the laser beams. And I go in the room with Jean. I was like, I'm not doing this. And then they start playing dramatic music, and the timer goes off. And immediately I'm on the floor crawling under the laser beams and hitting the buttons and telling Jean to hit the buttons on the floor. And as soon as I can get up, I'll hit the buttons on the ceiling. So I did that. Yeah. I mean, I lost a finger. Jean lost a toe. I couldn't avoid all the laser beams.
The dramatic music, you couldn't resist. As soon as that dramatic music starts, you're like, oh my God, nobody can resist dramatic spy music.
And my test results say I should be a handler. So
a handler?
I should handle spies, be a handler. Yeah.
Oh, so you'd be kind of like M in the James Bond?
Yep, one of those people. That woman in The Americans. Did you see The Americans? The woman
yes,
who always was. She was like, I don't care. You're going to do this.
Gotcha, yeah.
And then the kids wanted to go eat pizza afterwards. So we went to a Times Square pizza place, which it had a framed poster of Friends on the wall. So it's a good place.
So it's a great place.
But I was annoyed that the poster was crooked. Come on, if you're going to have a Friends poster framed on your wall. Don't let it be crooked.
But then you don't know who's touched that poster before you. You don't want to go correct it. This is New York, actually. Of course, the time-old New York question about Friends is like, how did you afford those apartments on a coffee person's on a barista's salary? And
you only knew white people.
Mm-hmm. I know, right? I never understood how Joey got the gig. Anyway, I never actually saw an episode of Friends.
Oh, okay. And you're going to criticize it.
Well, it was on Thursday nights, and at the time I was waiting tables, and Thursday was a good tip night.
John, you've read Shakespeare, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've seen Friends. Okay.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I was taking a Shakespeare class, and they told me that I was too jazz hands for Shakespeare, and they asked me to
what does that mean?
Back. Too jazz hands,
Yeah, but what's
they don't want that in Shakespeare, apparently.
No. I wish I could have seen you perform. I'm curious what was going on.
I did learn how to fence, though.
Oh, nice. Can you still fence?
I think I could. Yeah, I think I could. There's only 4 positions. I mean, it wasn't competitive fencing; it was theatrical fencing. There was a difference, apparently. And it's only 4. It's only 4 positions. And it's basically just moving your wrist. It's not that difficult.
You should get back on the stage. Ithaca's got lots of plays going on.
I think I will. I think I'm gonna resurrect my one-man show of the vice presidents of the United States. I think we'll take it from there.
I want to see that.
Luckily, Kamala Harris does wear that power pantsuit. So when I do Kamala, because I have tree trunks for legs, I couldn't pull off a skirt. So luckily she does the pantsuit. So I think I could do a Kamala.
All right.
Yeah.
That's not politically correct, but you give it a try.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not gonna darken my skin or anything. I'm just gonna point out that the evangelical Christians, pray to Jesus for Trump to win. Mm-hmm. The people in the village in India where Kamala's grandfather was from, prayed to the sun god of the Hindu religion, and who wound up winning? Just saying. Whose prayers got answered? Just saying.
Yes.
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
All right. Okay. We'll hype it on the show when you do it.
Yes. My Elbridge Jerry is riveting.
All right, John. Well, enough talking about whatever that was we were talking about.
I still don't know, Tim. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Want to welcome our guest, who is a burlesque performer and a firefighter.
We just say American hero. Yes. Rex Halligan. And not Hannigan, like you originally emailed me, Tim. I think you were thinking of maybe Miss Hannigan from the musical Annie. Is that what you were thinking?
I used to know Helen Hannigan when I typed to John. I was like, Rex Hannigan. And then I was like, no, it's not Hannigan.
Yeah, no, that happens. I also, if you remember a couple of years ago, Donald Trump's Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson.
Yeah.
I was getting that for a year.
Ooh.
What? That doesn't even sound like your name.
Rex Tillerson, hot. Woo. What a man.
He's got that oil money,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So before we get into the story you're going to tell, we just like to talk to people about their jobs. And do you have questions, John? Sometimes I just start talking and I don't let John say anything.
No, the only question I had for Rex was not job related. Like when I was going to ask him, like, Rex, have you ever eaten a carb? And like, I don't mean like you accidentally ate a mini muffin in 2008 at a Holiday Inn Express breakfast bar. Like, I don't think you've ever eaten a carb.
I drink my carbs. I am what the American Medical Association would call a heavy drinker. I think that's extremely leading questions. Like if we were in a court of law, because like there's no way. Like you go to the doctor and it's like, are you a heavy drinker? And it's like, well, what's a lot of drinks? It's like 3 a week. It's like, oh well, come on.
Sometimes those standards are ridiculously low too. It's like, really? 3 drinks a week is heavy. You've never had Thanksgiving dinner with my Irish family, I mean.
And was it during the pandemic?
Yeah, my Thanksgiving at my family is a heavy drinking holiday with my Irish family. But
do they
the old joke? What's the difference between an Irish wedding and an Irish funeral? One less drinker.
Right.
Jeez.
Even the most famous Irish funeral, in literature, is Finnegan's Wake, which is about someone getting so drunk that they're actually mistaken for being dead.
Yes.
And then wake up at the end with everyone else drunk. So
now, did you read that whole book, Rex?
No, but I know all the songs based on it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, for those listening at home, Rex is a bodybuilder, so he's
I wouldn't say that.
You wouldn't say that? I would say that, but
no,
anyway.
No. Bodybuilders are like kind of lumpy, and like there's like a whole bunch. That's a whole thing. I'm not. I try to maintain a lean figure, shall we say?
Because of your job too.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, because of both my jobs. I am, professionally naked on stage, as I am also a professional fireman. Both require me to be in decent shape. And that's with burlesque. Obviously, there's all body types. I don't have the talent, so I gotta do this.
You have the talent. I saw you do push-ups on a chair, standing on your head on stage.
Yeah, that's
a talent.
That's a good one. That's actually my favorite act to do.
And also for those listening at home, I am also Irish and I'm not a bodybuilder at all. So.
but he has been known to drink one or two.
Yeah, it's part of the culture at this point.
Actually, the pandemic is when I kind of quit drinking because it was like I live alone. I was like, ooh, maybe alcohol and living alone in the middle of a pandemic isn't a good idea. So.
Right. And most people, if you look at the stats, went the exact opposite way. Where alcohol consumption increased by at least 20%. And I know me because drinking at bars, you hand empties back to the bartender and they just magically disappear. But once I had to start taking out my recycling every week, I'm like, God damn, I'm actually going through a lot here.
Same thing happened here with wine bottles.
Yeah, exactly.
One time I was visiting my aunt, my father's sister. She's no longer with us, and she was rinsing out a mayonnaise jar.
Really, John? Okay.
She was rinsing out a mayonnaise jar.
What?
And she was putting it in the recycling bin. There were all these alcohol bottles, and I said, Maureen, what are you doing? Because there was still some mayonnaise in the jar, and she was putting it down the garbage disposal. I said, Maureen, what are you doing? She goes, well, I want the garbage men to think that I eat.
My mother, as she got older, she had the neighbor put her recycling out. I'm getting into boring stories about our mothers, but the neighbor finally commented on how many alcohol bottles are in there. So my mom asked someone else to take her recycling out because she didn't want her neighbor knowing how much she was drinking anymore. Anyway, that's what you get when you're
it just
old.
Is growing up though. I mean, your family, my family, we all drank. Even me as a teenager, my sister as a teenager. We had the parents of drink at home so you don't drink out there. And because of that actually affected. I thought that 7 and 7s were a normal thing for you to go out to a bar in the early 2000s when I reached the age, and the first time I went out and ordered one of them because I was drinking with my my family, and the bartender looks at me, it's that's a effing old man drink.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. You open up that bar order with my Social Security check just came in. Could I have a 7 and 7, please? Yeah.
Right. As a 21-year-old, not knowing that's not a normal thing, because I've been drinking for, God knows how long by that point.
That's what my priest drinks. Come on.
Yeah, no, mine too. I mean,
I've always wanted to interview a firefighter, even though I've known some other firefighters.
Right. We've had this talk. We actually, and I can't believe I don't know them because, it's, with firemen, it's always oh, do you know so-and-so? And there's, I don't know, 21,000 of us in the tri-state area. And it's always some guy you don't know. And
okay.
But your mutual friends, we're actually pretty close.
Yes. But I do wonder, so your fire department knows you also do burlesque at this point? or is it
officially is no.
I just wondered if they give you shit about it.
Okay, so officially it's no. A lot of the new guys don't know. There was kind of I'm going to say, I don't know, 3 years ago, there was like kind of an incident that brought a lot of it out. People found out. Now it's kind of an open secret. Like, guys know not to ask me.
Okay.
So I found out that a few guys knew. I found out that my commanding officer knows. He was actually the one.
But is that a problem, or you're going to explain? I guess I don't mean to interrupt.
So yeah. It's. I mean, legally, it's not a problem because here's the thing: I work in the Northeast, where, thank God, emergency services are heavily unionized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of union rep doesn't have a problem with it. Yeah.
Right. So I have a lot of protections that, let's say, someone in a right to work state wouldn't. Where just. So I lean heavily on that. My commanding officer knows it. He's probably the most cool with it out of anyone, but he knows not to bring it up. I found out more guys than I thought know, but they haven't brought it to me. So it's kind of a don't ask, don't tell thing because I don't want to explain it to people.
Yeah.
Most guys don't. A few guys do, and it's like, cool, we can just forget about this and move on.
And I wouldn't think it would be a big deal because they have those firemen calendars where firemen pose.
But it's kind of weird. It's and there's certain guys, like I know a guy who, I'm a burlesque performer, and if you're asking if firemen know what burlesque is, the answer is hell no.
Or they think they know what it is. Maybe
the guys that found out think I'm a stripper.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They think they know what burlesque is.
Right. And for anyone that's listening to the podcast that doesn't know, burlesque isn't stripping. There are people who try to equate it. I don't like to do that because I think that's not fair to strippers.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, the difference between a burlesque performer goes out on stage for a set amount of time and does an act that involves generally the removal of clothing, generally in a hilarious or storytelling fashion. I
would say it's just erotic.
Right. Well, sometimes it's erotic, sometimes it's comedic, but there's a spin to it, and it involves no contact with the audience or very little contact with the audience. A club stripper, as you would find in a strip club, we can all draw their own. Everyone knows what that is. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. They're different things, and there's been. It's kind of like a Venn diagram where, there's overlap, but they're different. And there's been people on both sides, the burlesque side and the club stripping side, that say we should lump them all together because that puts less stigma on the club strippers. Yeah. And while I'm all for that, I think that that's actually unfair to the club strippers who have to deal with a lot of bullshit that burlesque performers don't have to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, the way I put it is like volunteer firemen. I have no problems with volunteer firemen, but I kind of wish that they had a different term to separate it from what I do professionally.
Well, aren't volunteer, like the little town I grew up in, which John also lived in for a while, I think it was all volunteer, wasn't it, John? They couldn't afford.
It's a small town.
But I think what Rex is getting at is that they perhaps don't have like the extensive, say, like medical training that a professional firefighter would have. If I'm kind of understanding the point,
not just medical training, but fire training. So where I'm in the Northeast, in a major metropolitan area where the standards for volunteer firemen are rather low on a nationwide scale, and the standards for professional firemen are extremely high. If you go out to a place like, let's say, Oregon, just off the top of my head, the standards are about the same. Going back to what I was saying about what club stripping has to deal with is just in terms of stigma, in terms of just all the BS that you have to deal with. You don't have that as a burlesque performer. So I'm one of those people of like, we're not strippers, and I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm saying that we get off easy.
Yeah. I know I'll say a relative was in town years ago here in the city, and he was like, "Oh, let's go to the strip club." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And he dragged us in there, and I just don't like to go because, I guess I feel like the women that work there, like, they're just making money. They do not like me. They do not care for the people here.
I mean, so
and I'm like, I don't want to be here. And
I dated a stripper for a while. And just the shit that she had to deal with. But like more than that, I hate going there just because it's everything I hate in one place. It's not that I don't like beautiful women. It's not that I don't appreciate, the athleticism of pole dancing and all that. It's just I hate people pretending to like me. I hate high stress sales situations. Like it's for the same reason I don't like buying a car. As soon as you walk in, it's like, "Hi, can I help you?" Like, no, it's no.
And
it's
when I lived up near where John lives now, somebody had did I talk about this already, John? But somebody got married and basically had a bachelor party. So I went to the bachelor party. It was at their apartment. I'm like, okay. And I had no idea that this woman shows up and she's going to do a striptease for the husband-to-be. But the unhappy part, anyway, it's a weird situation. But there was a man that stood by the door with a overcoat, and he let us see he had a baseball bat under his overcoat because obviously they're not going to let her go to strange houses and leave her there.
Right.
But it just makes it weird. There's a guy with a baseball bat there.
Yeah, that kind of does take the fun out of it.
I'm all for that, but at the same time, it kind of kills the ambiance.
Yeah.
Like, you're afraid like one false move and all of a sudden you're concussed. Yeah, Right. Yeah, who wants that?
But as Rex said, the burlesque can be funny. I saw a show that I believe Rex was at, I don't know, but a woman was dressed like a Cyberman from Doctor Who, and she had sparks flying off her suit because she was pretending to saw parts off her. I don't know if Rex was there for that one, but that
literally the best burlesque performer in the world.
Yeah, she was it was a great show, and it was a very funny act, as if she were a cyber person. Yeah.
Just for anyone that wants to check her out, her name is Nasty Canasta.
Oh, that's right. I forgot her
She's
name.
retired now, as far as I know. She's a living legend. She is the greatest performer, in my opinion, of at least the last 20 years. She's amazing. She's the reason I do burlesque.
Oh, okay. That was going to be my next question. I'm glad you let me in there. How did you end up doing this? How did you end up getting into burlesque and
So I at the time was married. It was my wife's birthday, and she always kind of was into like pinup culture, which again, Venn diagram, not the same thing, but there's a lot of overlap.
Betty Page kind of stuff.
Yes. And so she was like, "I want to go see a burlesque show," and I'm like, "That's where like everyone kind of dances around to jazz music and like with fans, and no one really gets naked. Like, I think I know it." And I mean, so that's a really bad, demeaning description of classic burlesque. Okay. And so I saw it. I didn't know it at the time, but I was seeing basically some of the best performers. And I was blown away because there was some of what I described. Obviously, even though I kind of am jokingly demeaning it, it was great. But then there was also a lot of, like how you described, where someone was dressed as a Cyberman from Doctor Who. I saw a performer come out dressed as a penguin, like full furry penguin costume that they stripped out of to... It started out as Morgan Freeman's narration from March of the Penguins.
Oh, my God.
Then went into Two Live Crew's Me So Horny once they got to the mating part. And like,
were there two penguins or just one penguin?
Actually, I know this performer personally now, and she's a classically trained ballerina. So the actual dancing was amazing. And I was just like, oh, this is not at all what I thought, and I want more of this.
Yes.
And so I started, when's the next show? We'll go to that. And then starting, okay, now there's dedicated venues in New York that do this all the time. And I started going to more and more shows, and eventually it was like, at that point I had gotten myself into decent shape, and I noticed that they needed, the term in burlesque is stage kitten.
Okay. Oh, that
which
picks
is
up
basically, so for anyone who doesn't know, burlesque leaves a lot of crap littered all over the stage after an act.
Yes.
And someone needs to clean it up. So you could be really boring and just have someone in traditional theater stage blacks do it, or you can put on a costume and do it in a sexual manner and be a part of the show and basically be at the, talking about gender roles in burlesque real quick, generally, and this is a vast generalization, it's not the case so much anymore, but used to be way more, the host is a male comic.
Okay.
And the kitten is a very scantily clad woman.
Right.
And we thought, the producers of the show thought it would be fun, since their hosts were women, to have basically a kind of pool boy kind of vibe going on, where I was in my underwear picking it up, and they were making jokes, and it was. I think that particular run of that show lasted for just under a year, and it was amazing. And from then on, it was, you should perform, okay? And then I got into hosting burlesque just because when we launched our own show, it was like, this is probably going to lose money, and if we don't hire a host, it's one less person we have to pay.
And you're a very good host. I've seen you.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think you were at the first show that I went to. But because I can't remember who the person was, but the burlesque actor asked for a volunteer, and everybody shoved me up on stage, and she made me get on my knees and hold the microphone for her. I don't think you were there, but I wish I could remember who that. You probably know who she is.
Go figure. There are shows that I can't make because I do work nights as well.
Yeah. I do have a job with health benefits and a pension that I have to show up for. Exactly.
Yeah. I was probably cutting someone out of a car at that point.
Oh, geez. Which leads me to my other question, since you mentioned that. I wondered what the oddest, like, non-fire extinguishing thing you've been called on to do as a fireman. Has there been, like, something you never thought you would end up doing? So, as far as...
okay, that's a couple of questions. The first one is, have I ever done something I thought I wouldn't do? No. Because firefighter is a term from the 1700s, 1800s, and it is 1% of what our job is. Right. If you want to get technical, we are emergency workers. You know, we go, when you call 911, you get the fire department.
Yes.
You do. Which a lot of people don't realize.
I didn't realize that. I thought, you got the dispatcher.
Well, you get the dispatcher, but 9 out of 10 times they're going to send us, because if it's a fire, obviously you're getting us. If it's a hazardous situation, which is a very, very broad term, you're getting us. If it's a medical situation, you're getting us. Even if someone's shooting at you, you're getting the cops, but, like, who do you think is going to take care of the wounded? Like, we deal with everything. The best thing I ever heard was, it started as a joke. It's one of those things that one guy says and then it gets repeated ad nauseum, but there's no 1011, there's only 911. Mm-hmm. So it stops with you and figure it out.
Well, John often thinks his neighbor is dead. Should he call the fire department?
Well, I just thought
that's called a wellness check. We do those. Yeah,
I didn't say dead. I just said I thought I thought his organs were harvested. They could have had him in the bathtub filled with ice and kept him alive. I've heard that. Isn't that like
we generally get those around 7 a.m. when it's hey, I haven't heard from
a certain time.
God, I can tell if you give me a time of day, I'm like as soon as like the tones go off. The tones are how we get dispatched. So like,
what time of the day is when people have cats stuck in the tree? They call you.
Oh God. Okay, so that doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And
you told me that once.
It's generally middle of the day.
People are calling you for that.
We do not go on that. Cats can get out of trees. It's not funny. Although,
you hear
actually,
that, John?
now
stop calling the fire department about the cats in the trees. In
2022, I've now gotten 2 calls for my drone is stuck in a tree. Can you guys do something?
Oh no! And do you come?
No.
No,
it's not an emergency. We do have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers. I mean, I don't know how blue do you want to get with the material here? Because I can go into stories.
Oh, that's fine. We're a adult adult podcast.
Okay.
I'm guessing there's going to I'm going to guess there's like a lot of orifice stories. That's just going to be just off the top of my head.
Yeah, there are. Those happen. Those happen. The worst my firehouse ever got in terms of just a funny but wrong story is that we got an alert for a 2 a.m. a medical alert bracelet going off. You know what I'm talking about? Like the iPhone, I can't get up woman. Right.
Older people that fall down and they hit the button.
So, this was a thing, and we bang on the door, nothing. So we rip the door open, and think we're going to find a body or think we're going to find someone that, is in very, very a bad situation. Yeah. And we find a gentleman who if I had to hazard a guess, I'd say was around his late 70s. And he was jerking off. And what happened was that he had popped a Viagra and went to sleep thinking it didn't work, woke up, found out it was working, threw on a DVD because this is pre-internet days. Okay. Well, at least high-speed internet for most people. But he had took his hearing aids out, so he couldn't hear and had accidentally activated it, but couldn't hear us banging on the door.
Oh, wow.
So,
this is like every 13-year-old boy's bad dream come true,
If you ever ask what the most horrifying thing I've seen in my life is, that's definitely up there.
That's going to... I'm going to be afraid that's me at 80. This is going to be my nightmare now.
Oh, that could be me.
I mean,
that could be me next week. I'm not...
What movie was it, Rex?
Oh God, I don't know. It was. I
That's the important question.
I should have looked at that for posterity.
Did you come in with your axe and smash the DVD player?
It's like.
Oh my God! And then how do you fill out that report? It's like.
Thank God. That's why I'm never going to be an officer. I'm going to retire as a backstep fireman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have to fill out reports.
Yeah, no reports.
How would you word that? You can't put old guy jerking off without his hearing aids, and
I believe
you kind of got to put it in
term,
legalese. Yeah,
right. The legalese terms would be accidental activation.
Accidental activation. I love it. I'm going to use that line.
Yeah, accidental activation. I do tend to write.
That's great. That's fantastic.
I do tend to write.
John's writing this down. John's gonna be using this at work all week now.
Activation. It sounds like it should go with premature ejaculation, accidental activation,
right.
ejaculation. That could be a song. Accidental activation.
I was just going to say, John is writing a song this week.
Accidental activation, premature ejaculation. I think I got something here.
You quit high school at 15 for a just because you don't have to tell us, but if you want to tell us, or it's just
I had a horrible time in school. When I left high school, I weighed 113 pounds.
Okay.
So I got picked on a lot because I was an easy target. Mm-hmm. It's not that I didn't fight back. I always fought. I got in a lot of fights. I just lost most of them. So it was a bad time, and I wasn't learning anything. I felt like high school was just regurgitating what they had already taught us already, just in slightly more detail for a test. And then the other thing is, I grew up. I don't like to use the term poor because I've seen real poverty, and we weren't that, but I will say we were of meager means.
Okay.
So college wasn't a thing. I couldn't afford it without going into massive amounts of debt. And even as a 15-year-old, I'm doing the math, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Which is funny because at the time everyone thought I was nuts. But now, here we are. I would have been out of school for 22 years now. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole bunch of think pieces of forget college, go to trade school. And, so at that point with college not being an option, it was all right, why am I in high school?
How old do you have to be to then join the fireman academy to become a fireman? Did you do that right?
Yeah. technically it's 18, but you'd be hard pressed to find anyone that gets in at 18, just because the test to get on is only given every, I don't know, 3.5, 4 years. Okay. I obviously haven't taken the test in 2 decades. But the test to get on is every 3.5, 4 years. So you might be, as it was in my case, I was 21 before I ever took a fire test.
Okay.
Just because they hadn't given them in that time, when I was 18 or 19. And then obviously, there needs to be some time to get it scored, and then, there's a written test, there's a month, and then there's a physical test, and then there's, getting legal challenges out of the way and whatever. So by the time I got on the firehouse, I was actually 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have but do they do that because so many people want to sign up? They just have to kind of keep it. They can't be.
Just it costs a lot of money to
train people.
Run a test for 20,000 applicants.
Right. Right.
and just because not a lot of people relatively get on, I mean, statistically speaking, you have a better acceptance rate if you apply to Harvard than becoming a fireman.
Wow.
Right.
Not saying it just in terms of sheer numbers. Let's say 30,000 people sign up to be firemen, and they wind up hiring 1,300 off that test.
Yeah. So we're just gonna skip the horrible high school story, and you had a story about the fire academy.
Oh yeah, I mean the fire academy is a horrible time and a great time.
That's what I figured. It's kind of like the army, but I guess I was never in the army. I mean, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know what boot camp is. I think boot camp's don't quote me on this, but I think around 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think so.
I know it's different for different branches of service. We have 2 Marines, 3 guys from the Army, and 2 guys from the Navy, I want to say, in my house. Okay. God forbid you mess those up.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
They got it tattooed on their arms, I assume.
Right, right. Well, yeah, no, they all pretty much do. But I can't judge that. I got my fireman tattoos. So, yeah, the fire academy is generally around 16 to 20 weeks, depending on where you go. And, you get into some trouble because it's you wait your whole life to get there, and then you get your winning lottery ticket as it was, and then you're just like, don't let me screw this up. Mm-hmm. And it's hard, it's 10, 12-hour days of just you're learning in a classroom, but they're also beating the hell out of you physically. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Probably worse than any fire will ever, right. Just because, as bad as a fire is, it's over. And then, you can rest. Whereas at the academy, it's reset and do it again.
Yeah. I think some of the people I've talked to, you have to carry those oxygen tanks up and down steps. Like you do that every day while you're training, or?
Yeah. Well, one thing is, it's not oxygen. If you take an oxygen tank into a fire, you will explode.
Oh, okay.
It's compressed air.
Good to know.
But yeah, no. So those weigh about 35 pounds, and then you probably got another 60 pounds on you while you're doing that, and then whatever equipment, which is probably another 20, 30 pounds.
And it's summertime.
Yeah. Well, even if it's not summertime, I mean, you're going into a hot environment, and
right.
That's the thing. Like I had a friend who I always get DMs from my friends when there's a fire on their block, and they're all of a sudden the questions that they never realized they have start coming out. And one guy was like, why are they using such rudimentary tools, and like axes and I'm just like, well, you're going into a 600-degree room with no oxygen in it. Like, you can't use a chainsaw.
No.
You can't, like, you can't, like, these are the things that won't break the minute. Like,
why are you using an axe to smash that CD player? It's playing the adult film.
Well, yeah. Because
that almost sounds like the equivalent of That almost sounds like the equivalent of a doctor who goes to a party and gets asked medical advice, kind of, sort of. Like all of a sudden you get all these questions. You're like, really? It's not my shift today. I don't want to talk about fires.
It's weird though. I mean, like the thing that's different about me and that doctor though is I really realized how few people know what the fire department does, right? Because it's called the fire department. Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, I've defibrillated people and brought them back to life, which is probably the coolest feeling in the world. Where like,
I imagine.
I've cut people out of cars. I've pulled people out of fires. Not me personally, but I was on a hose line holding the fire back while my partner grabbed somebody and pulled them down the stairs. Which really sucks because they get the medal and you don't.
Oh, jeez. But at least in basketball, you get mentioned with the assist. You know, I mean, that's a stat.
Assist, right? No, well, I mean, you do get the assist, but the assist is a medal that
doesn't come with a
has. Medal. like you have to explain why you got it, and then it just loses all cool factor. You're like, no,
he gets the medal. You get a coupon for a free cone at Baskin Robbins. It's just not safe.
Right. You know? There's a colloquialism in the fire service of truck guys go to medal day, engine guys go to the burn ward.
Oh, jeez. Gee whiz.
Like engine guys do all the work. Engine guys put the fire out, but truck guys get the glory. You know.
Gotcha. So what? So hopefully you have a funny story, not a. I
don't want this like a story that's going to give me nightmares. Yeah.
No.
You already told the nightmare story. What's going to happen to me when I'm 80? Let's move on to the funny story.
Or me next week. But anyway.
Yes.
It's just the funniest thing in the fire academy, just because everyone is walking on eggshells because the last thing you want to do is get hurt. Because when you're a fireman, you're on probation for the first year. Hence why we don't call new guys rookies. We call them probies, short for probationary firemen. Which means you can get let go at any time for no reason for your first year. So it's all just stay healthy, stay healthy, stay healthy. And like we had one guy fall off a roof and he broke his leg, and he actually did that the class before mine, and he came back in our class to finish out, and he walked with a slight limp, so everyone called him hip hop. But it's that whole just don't get hurt. But
he got to stay.
I think the funniest thing though is we had we were all sleeping in a dormitory, 16 guys to a room, bunk beds. Like, if you ever seen Full Metal Jacket, it kind of looked like that.
Oh, okay.
And so one guy brings in a football, and the funniest thing is we all have this winning lotto ticket if we just stay healthy for the remainder of the academy and get out. But we were playing dorm room football between these things, full contact, and guys are getting thrown into shit because it's still that hyper masculine thing of well, you're not going to tell me. So guys are calling out rules as we go. Are we touched? No. Tackle. Okay. Guy, shower is the end zone. Go. And here we are, right after beating the crap out of ourselves, just throwing ourselves on each other. And someone filmed it, and I still have that video, and it's
oh no,
this was at the time I think the worst time of my life, because it's hell. The academy is literally hell.
Was alcohol involved with this football game?
No alcohol in the dorms. However, yes, there was a bar across the street. Well, I mean, as across the street as you can be you had to get off the academy grounds.
Yeah.
And so everyone's kind of tuned up, and it's just the funniest thing to me because it's the most typical masculine thing of oh well, now there's a football.
So who got hurt?
Actually, unbelievably, no one. And it's crazy, but this is just how it was, and of course we got chewed out by the instructors the next day, and the next week was something new, and the academy is weird.
Did you destroy all your bunk beds?
Yes, totally. The room was trash.
Where did you sleep that night?
on the mattresses, they were still
That's
good.
kind of a personal question, Tim, but anyway.
Yeah.
we all got very close in those weeks.
Yes, we bonded as brothers.
But yeah, if you want to know funny stories, the best thing, legendary, are firehouse pranks. So we all do things of
questionable
flower catapults made out of mouse traps in guys' lockers. One guy, we had a drop ceiling. He ran oxygen tubing up through the drop ceiling and then hooked that tubing up to a water dispensing fire extinguisher. Okay. And just made it, basically it's a giant squirt gun, and after it was lights out, just kept shooting the guy in the face that he couldn't stand. And then when the lights came on,
this guy didn't know where the water's coming from.
Right. He the lights would go on, he'd look around, nothing. The lights go back out, he gets shot in the face again.
And that was you.
No, that wasn't me. I wish I was that good.
At least you weren't the guy getting shot in the face. There you go.
Right. The best prank I ever heard. So firemen aren't allowed to have beards. Because it interferes with our air masks, right? You can't get a seal on your face.
Okay.
So, generally any fireman, if you see us on vacation, we have a beard, and if you see us when we're not, we have to be clean shaven. So this one probie gets on new firehouse, and the guys go to him, hey, all right, here's our thing. We're gonna go up and start having breakfast, having coffee. Your job is to check the rig to make sure the fire truck, make sure everything's there, and then mop up the floors. Just so you know, it's a public building, so guys are people are allowed to come in. Okay. We don't like it. It's kind of a shitty area, a shitty neighborhood, but what are you going to do? People, it's technically a public building, so if they want to use the bathroom, they can. So, okay, they all go upstairs. The guy starts mopping the floor. This one guy comes in. He's got a full beard. He's got dreadlocks, and he's just, he comes in, uses the bathroom. Probie looks at him, doesn't think anything of it. Then the guy waits until the probie is in the back of the apparatus bay, can't see him. This guy doesn't know that he's a fireman at that firehouse that's been on vacation for 2 weeks, so he's got a full beard and everything, so he doesn't look like it. Starts up the fire truck, drives it away out of the firehouse, and goes down the street.
Oh, my gosh.
All the guys come down the pole, and they're like, what the fuck happened? Oh, my God. The guy, this guy's crying. He thinks he's going to get fired. Not knowing that was one of their off-duty guys. This guy's never met. I thought that was the greatest prank I've ever heard.
That is.
One guy got his... one probie got his... we got issued badge numbers, which become your lotto numbers for life and all that. Okay. He got his badge number tattooed on him. Oh. So as soon as the officers found out about that, they had a fake department memo come out that there was a inconsistency in badge numbers, and therefore they would all be reassigned on Monday.
Oh my gosh.
That's like when John got a tattoo of he tattooed No,
I'll tell you what I did.
He tattooed Bill Cosby's name on his arm because he's such a big fan, and now it's there. Years
Bill Cosby, Roman Polanski. But no, I put a fake note on the time clock because during the pandemic, I was one of those people, I didn't get off of work. I work for a retailer. I worked through the whole pandemic, and every morning we have to go in and get our temperature checked, just with the one, you put it up to the forehead and it reads it digitally. So I put a note next to the time clock one morning, even though we have an app on our phone that we clock in and out with, that starting on Monday, all temperatures would be taken rectally. And almost got in a lot of trouble for that.
I was going to say, you still work there?
Yeah, I do. They were just like, they said, John, that was very funny. Just don't do that again.
This isn't a firehouse, John.
This isn't a firehouse. we're a serious profession.
I'm institutionalized now, where if I had to not work in a firehouse, I would not survive a week.
I can imagine.
I get what you're saying. I know. People have been in the military. People have been police officers. Yeah, it's quite because you really do. And this is not a cliche. This isn't hokey, but I mean, you really do dedicate your life to this.
I mean,
when it's over, what do you do? Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I actually dedicate less of my life to it. That's why I do burlesque. That's why I have all these things, because
there you go.
I've seen that is a one-way street. Mm-hmm. And the one guy who actually wound up dying in the fire service, told me, like, the firehouse doesn't give back. Like it's a great, it's a brotherhood, and it's all that, and it's wonderful. But you should probably have something outside of this, because when it's over, you're going to need to do something.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, it's sort of like, nobody ever wishes, and this is just kind of people in general, not just firefighters, but I don't think anybody, when they take their last breath, says, gee, I wish I'd spent more time at work.
Right.
Yeah. That's why our mutual friend, New York Times bestselling author George O'Connor. Yeah. He once he's done drawing comics, he's got his action figures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and that's that. Okay, that's my next question. Is there an emergency evacuation plan if, heaven forbid, your building does get on fire or X? Is there an emergency evacuation plan for New York Times bestselling author George O'Connor's action figures? So, like, have you all been assigned like a group of action figures? Like, you've got numbers, and you each grab one or two, whatever you can carry out. You're responsible for numbers 67 to 72.
I'm assigned Masters of the Universe.
Okay. Okay. See, I knew it.
But we've kept you almost an hour. I'm not exactly sure what time we started, but before you go, I have some questions for you that some are serious, because
we're a very serious podcast.
I see that.
Mm-hmm. I put my glasses on. That's how serious we are.
My wife works for a restaurant organization, and there's a reason I'm asking you this question. So this is like a public service announcement for anyone listening. So Rex, if you have a grease fire in your kitchen, what should you do and what should you not do?
All right. The easy thing is not to answer what not to do is throw water on it. Right. If it's small enough where it's like in a frying pan and you can just cover it with the lid and walk away. Do not open the lid to check on it, because you're going to just smother it from the air. And if you check on it by opening the lid, you just gave it more air.
Yeah. Because my wife, like I said, she works for a big restaurant business, and sometimes she's in charge of a big catering event, and they had food with those Sterno cans or whatever, keeping the food warm. And she saw that, she's in charge.
Basically, if you throw water on a grease fire, you make napalm.
Oh, I know. She saw the grease caught on fire in one of these plates, and she saw the guy who was working there grab a glass of water, and she was like, no, don't do that. Yeah. He was right next to a curtain.
Baking soda works amazing. If you don't have that, just handy.
Salt, right?
Salt. Just grab a whole thing of salt and throw it on there. So long as you take away, fire needs 4 things. It's heat, oxygen, fuel, and a chemical reaction. If you break any one of those, fire goes out. So salt, baking soda, or the lid will take away the oxygen and the chemical reaction.
So I seriously want people to know that, because I still am surprised people will throw water on a grease fire.
So I was actually at a fatal fire 2 weeks ago.
Oh, dear.
Where we found the guy dead in almost looked like a praying position. He was hunched over with his hands clasped together over his face. And, I mean, he was really badly burned. We couldn't make out exactly what happened, but we think it started as a grease fire, and he threw water onto it.
Ugh, man. That's something people should know early on.
That killed him, but then that caused it to spread throughout the entire place. By the time we got there, the whole place was fully going, But, yeah, that's what happens. So, don't do that.
So now I have to move on with my my funny questions that I don't have a lot of questions. My next question is: if you have a chemical fire in your kitchen, what should you do with all the drugs that are not on fire?
All right, so yeah.
See, I follow up your very sad story with comedy. I don't know.
Meth labs are a serious problem. I've actually, I learned, thank you, government of the state I work in. They taught me how to cook, which is really funny because it came up in conversation, and I'm like, well, there's 4 ways to cook meth, and my friend looks at me. I'm like, no, your tax dollars paid for this. Listen.
This is educational.
They do teach you that so you know what it looks like, I assume.
Well, because we had quite a few fires where guys were walking into things, and it's like there are obvious telltale signs of a meth lab. And, if you see a coffee filter with red staining, if you see stripped lithium batteries, these are all things that go into cooking meth. I'm probably saying too much.
Look at John. Stop.
No, but you're no. I mean, you want to know, like, okay, wait, I see this. This is what this is. Treated accordingly is what you're saying. Okay.
Right. The thing, if you already have a fire and you're in the middle of a cook, it's too late.
Yeah. I read the book Methland. I don't know if you read that. It's terrifying book about people in the middle of the country, why meth came about, why certain people use it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the worst thing about the middle of the country, as opposed to like where we all live, is the readily accessible anhydrous ammonia, which cuts
you mean
out
fertilizer.
Specifically anhydrous ammonia, because that cuts out about 5 steps. And makes it extremely easy. Whereas in New York and New Jersey, or California or Connecticut, like you obviously don't have tanks of that laying around.
Right.
Well, here's a funny, not funny haha, but funny sheesh, where Tim and I grew up, big meth country these days. And every once in a while, like I live about 2 hours north of where we grew up, a lot of farmland outside where I live, and they'll have like the police have caught these people in the barns trying to steal the fertilizer, and like 9 out of 10 times it's somebody that was from not too far where we grew up, and I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah, no, that stuff's a gold mine if you can get it.
Yeah.
So my third question, which movie do you feel is better, Backdraft or Man on Fire? Which now is my comedy question is in bad taste after the stories you told me.
In terms of an actual film, I'm going to go Man on Fire because Denzel Washington is great in that. It's also not about firefighting, which helps because firefighting movies, by and large, are god awful.
Right. That was my next question. I saw that when I see movies, I'm like, did they do all the research? Is this what happens, or was that movie totally?
Backdraft is probably the least realistic fire movie. It's probably the best in terms of entertainment value.
Yeah.
The physics are wrong. Everything is wrong. Everything's wrong.
Okay.
But it's
I really wanted.
I'm gonna compare Backdraft to another movie that I unironically like, and that's Top Gun, where it doesn't matter if it's real. It was cool.
Well, everybody's favorite part of Top Gun is the volleyball game, right?
Right. No,
am I
exactly.
right, John?
And then
my favorite part.
I always say I like 300, and that movie is just the volleyball scene from Top Gun stretched out for 2.5 hours.
Exactly. Like the opening scene of Trog. Yes, it's the exact same thing. Exactly. Yes.
The most realistic take I've probably seen on firefighting is I haven't watched all of this because I actually don't like watching firefighting stuff.
I can imagine.
But I'd say the most realistic take I've seen on firefighting is probably the first season, because I didn't watch any of the other ones, of Rescue Me with Dennis Leary. It's probably about 15, 20 years old. I don't know, around.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Just because that, unlike, and again, I don't watch these things, so I've only seen episodes when my girlfriend loves 911, which is god awful.
Is that a show? It's not a reality show.
It's a show now. I think it's on. Yeah, it's on Fox. Okay. Yeah, and then there's a spinoff with Rob Lowe called like 911 Texas or something, and like, they're both awful.
Sounds like John watches.
They are god.
No, I have some friends who watch it, and if I am ever out at their house, on that night, I'm watching.
I watched like the first episode, and like they fought like a giant fire that would be like a once in every 10 years fire, and then they go and do like 8 other things in that episode, and I'm just like,
the next day they have a once in 10 years fire. Yeah.
My brain is melting, and she's like, oh, like once you catch up, like there's a blackout now that they're in the middle of because the tsunami hit, and I'm like, the what? So like that's the problem. But like Rescue Me, I liked. Again, not having seen more than the first season, I think, because I just don't like watching fireman stuff.
I get that.
But like the thing I liked about that is they got into the social life outside of the, in the firehouse and outside of the firehouse. And occasionally there's a fire. Occasionally they go on a fatal accident or something, but then it's like they're just dealing with, life as a fireman and how that can mess you up. Which
kind of what Chicago Fire is doing now.
So that's another one I don't watch, but I've seen some old episodes, and it's another they fight a once in a lifetime fire every week. Also, it's very, very politically correct, which I understand it needs to be. But that is not the case.
I can cut this out because maybe you don't want to talk about that. I think I talked about your firehouse is very conservative, and you're not.
You don't have to cut that out. I mean, it is what it is. I'm a leftist in a firehouse, which is a miniature red state. And then it's funny because they'll be like, "Oh, you're a liberal," and it's like, actually, I'm not. I'm way beyond that.
You've gone all the way around to the other side.
Like
you think Nancy Pelosi is a socialist? You ain't seen nothing yet, buddy.
I'll lecture them on politics, and they're like, you're wrong. I'm like, you're right. Now let's all get into our big red truck and go around giving out government health care in our unionized job. Like I'm the moron.
Right. That's always been my like they're always saying less government, less taxes, less until it's their program, and then so they're like, whoa.
That's always the thing. Well,
wait a second here. No, I didn't mean me.
There is no such thing as actual fiscal conservatives. Like it just means I don't want money going to shit that I don't like. And meanwhile, I'm like, cool. I didn't like the war in Iraq. Did I not have to pay for it?
Right. Did you send your stimulus back? Your stimulus checks back? I bet you did.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Just the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is not lost on me, but it's very much lost on them.
I live in a very conservative area, and it's just I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, The day that one of my coworkers came to me and said, wearing the mask was the mark of the beast, I looked at her and I said, Patty, I don't even know how to answer that, and I have not said anything since about anything.
Right.
That was the day you put the rectal.
That was the day I put the rectal temperature. On there. And then I told them that if it's Easter in the Northern Hemisphere, it's Christmas in Australia.
Well, Rex, okay, now we've kept you longer than an hour, so I do want to thank you for your time. We try to keep the podcast about an hour, so
yeah, sure.
I'm not cutting you off. I'm just saying.
Oh, hey,
you
gave me an hour of your time, and before you go,
time, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But before you go, do you want to hype the show at the winery, which is July 2nd, is it? You give the details.
At this point, Fire and Fury Burlesque is a company I'm a co-producer of. And our next show would be at City Winery in Chelsea. It's on the pier at the end of 15th Street at the corner of the West Side Highway. It's a beautiful venue. We have performers from around New York and literally all around the country that do that show. It's July 2nd at 8 p.m. It's the holiday weekend, so you don't have to worry about, like you get the extra day in there. We are ironically celebrating America in this one.
I've been to City Winery. It's a great venue. And I've seen you do your Celebrating America show in the past also.
Yeah, awesome.
So, is there any other shows?
We have a killer lineup.
Well, last time, I think this was 3 years ago, George dressed up as Trump and the women beat on stage.
That actually, that wasn't our show, but I was in that show.
Okay.
And that was a great show. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good show.
It was going to say, hey, we got Trump out, but with the way the government's going these days, it's not exactly anything more to celebrate. So, my favorite thing is about this show is we crammed a bunch of non-Americans and immigrants into it. Okay. Because what really makes the country great, right?
Yeah, basically a lot of Irish people, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. Isn't America full of non-Americans? Exactly.
Yes.
Right, and I think that's, if you get it, you get the joke. We have Aussies and Brits and people from all over the country, so it'll be a great time. But yeah, July 2nd at City Winery.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Rex. Thanks for being on the show.
Rex.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one, guys.
So this is the part of the show where if we have letters, we'll read them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I told you we had a letter from...
I think you sent me a letter.
Our fan, Corey Corcoran.
Mm-hmm.
I have ordered his scree-zine. I have not received it yet. Someone might have stolen it.
I would if I saw it just hanging out.
But I'm going to read his letter.
Okay.
So Corey Corcoran writes, "Hey guys, I really enjoyed your Star Toys episode. I was excited to hear that the next movie you all are watching is the 1978 Gregory Peck vehicle, The Boys from Brazil. Even though this film is from way back in the SETI past, it somehow feels frighteningly. Wow. I drank this Coke.
Yeah.
It made my mouth sticky. Frighteningly timely. Wait, I got the movie wrong? Damn, you're watching Boys on the Side? I guess that makes sense. You'd be revisiting the Whoopi Goldberg lesbian road trip movie from 1995 and not the Hitler cloning movie from the 70s. I'm looking forward to you all discussing it.
Yes.
I wanted to tell you... Wait a second. What's going on, John?
No, this is a hilarious letter. This letter cracks me up. It's so funny.
I wanted to let you all know I play along with the quizzes every week and always answer all the questions correctly.
So basically what Corey's saying is he's guessing who would fart in an elevator.
Yes, he's getting him right.
He's on our wavelength. Corey, I would be frightened if I were you. If you're on our wavelength, I would not be celebrating that. I would be getting myself some medical treatment immediately.
But Corey, you're making jokes about our next movie, and we know that we're watching the movie The Boys Next Door, a 1996 American made-for-television Hallmark drama starring Nathan Lane. Which is true. There is a movie called The Boys Next Door in 1996.
Yeah,
Nathan Lane movie. I'm not making that up. I looked it up.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it.
Maybe we'll just have to watch every movie called The Boys Next Door.
Yes, of course, Corey, I think Corey does realize that we would not actually review a movie that the critics actually liked.
We might. Come on.
No, I'm looking at the list. I'm not seeing any thumbs up. I'm just preparing everybody for that.
I still love Trog. I can't believe that got bad reviews. I had so much fun talking about Trog.
Snubbed by the Oscars.
Yes.
Snubbed by the Oscars. Glenda Jackson won Best Actress that year. It should have gone to Joan Crawford.
But thank you, Corey. We appreciate your letter.
Thank you, Corey. We love your letters. Please keep sending them and letting us know you're still out there. And we are looking forward to the Screezine when that arrives.
And we're going to get out of here because this show is long. I think
it was very long.
So email us like Corey did at SETIBIMCO with the E at gmail.com. We're on Twitter at SETIBIM, Instagram, SETI_BIMCO, And if you like the show, also, please like and share it on social media. Tell your friends. Don't send it to your kids, because this is more of an adult show. But send it to, I don't care. Send it to whoever. We got a listener in Australia, I noticed. So
I know.
Some
I'm very
listeners in
excited
Australia.
about that. We'll comment about that next week, because I have a couple of thoughts on that.
Okay. All right.
And, since we are a throwback show, the show has kind of given me a headache, so I'm going to go take a couple Anison and maybe get a little nap. Okay. Anyway.
All right. But next week, we're going to watch a TV movie. Sorry.
When was the last time you took an Anison?
I don't know. I don't think I ever did. I never did.
Okay,
that.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. Next week's movie is...
It's a movie starring William Shatner. Can you believe it?
I can believe it.
It's called The Babysitter, made for TV movie. All right. Get excited. If you want to watch along, it's on YouTube for free. It's probably free several places.
I can't believe any country movie.
William Shatner and Patty Duke.
Patty Duke. At the time, Patty Duke asked him.
That's right.
Because she was married to John Aston. Yeah.
I interrupted you. Did you want to say something else before we go?
No, you were very succinct and very... I really need to get that Anison, though.
All right. Okay. All right. Goodbye, John.
All right. Bye, Tim. Have a great week.
Study Bingo is a podcast by Tim Hamilton and John Kelly. Produced by Miss Lee. Music by Tim Hamilton. This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.